Hey everyone, welcome back to Attack on Productions. We're back today with Attack on TCG, where we're once again dealing with the Dragon Ball Super card game. Today I'm going over the Hirudegarn deck that I used when facing Bancroft's Goku's Lineage deck. Hope I said that right. This is the deck that I used in that match profile if you were interested. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get into the deck profile. Here we see the leader. The leader card, basic 10,000, nothing special there. When this card attacks, you may take one card from your hand, add it to the drop zone, and then draw two cards. This is awesome and is seeing a lot of attention in the meta right now. Not necessarily running the Hirudegarn engine, but being able to draw extra cards from that. It's pretty fast. When you awaken, you retap two of your energies, which is awesome for extending late game plays or leaving yourself protected after a large play. Once he awakens, he has the standard 15,000, nothing super special there. When he attacks, you draw one card. Here's the best part about him though. If you have 4 or more energy, your opponent chooses one card from their hand and places it on top of their deck. At first glance, it's not super disruptive, but late game when resources and hands matter, that's awesome to be able to go through that. This paired with a couple other cards throughout the deck make it really controlling. I love this leader. I think this leader is great in this deck. I think it's great in other blue combinations deck for energy manipulation, hand manipulation. You'll see that other cards in this deck kind of cater towards that system. So without further ado, I'm going to get into the rest of the deck. So we'll set the leader card to the side. To start off, I run 4 energy boosted Majin Buu. This guy has been a solid staple since the beginning. 5,000 attack power. When you play him, draw one card. This card got a lot better with a new inclusion of a card that we run in this deck to basically just abuse this to find play pieces to thin your deck. You'll see that kind of later. I'll elaborate a little bit more then, but energy boosted Majin Buu, if you're running a blue engine, it's always a good first turn one. The second card we play is another 1-drop. This one got a lot of attention with the release of the new set, Time Control Cronoa. It's also a pay 1, draw a card. But in addition, Cronoa stops super combos for your opponent. So I drop Cronoa turn 1. Guess what, opponent? You don't get to play super combos for the rest of the game, which could make a huge difference by turn 3 or 4, or even later. This deck is mainly for fun. I don't think it's going to hang with the super meta decks, the Super Saiyan 3 Gokus, but this deck is pretty controlling, pretty defensive. If it can get going, it's quite the thing to deal with. And Cronoa helps us get there with drawing and stopping super combos. The next card we play is another 1-drop, though we never really play him. Hidden Darkness Minosha is a 5,000 for a 1-drop. That's pretty standard. We're not really interested in that, though. We're more interested in his effect when he is discarded from your hand. If your leader's a Phantom Demon, you may choose up to 1 Hirudegarn the Wanderer from your deck and add it to your hand. This card's seeing a lot of attention in other decks that use the Hirudegarn leader, that use just this and the Hirudegarn the Wanderer card to thin the deck. So you discard the Minosha with the leader's effect when he attacks, then you search your deck for the Hirudegarn and add it to your hand, thins your deck, plus you've got a free 5,000 that you can combo with in your hand. It's a pretty significant play, and this deck really relies on it. The Minosha is not really a loss for discarding a card in your hand, so you're actually plus 2ing on just your leader's attack if you're able to discard Minosha. Next, we play 3 of the Unyielding Spirit Trunks. This deck is pretty slow, pretty defensive, but we like to use the trunks after extending our energy with the leader attack to set ourselves up for more defensive plays during our opponent's turn so we don't get completely stomped into the dirt when we leave ourselves defenseless. This card is pretty staple in any blue deck that has a blue leader. So I'm not really going to go over it. When you combo with him, you retap one of your energy cards. It's a pretty amazing card. Next, we're going to look at our super combo, which is the Hoi Emissary of Flame. He's only a 2-drop, though I've never personally played him on the field. I have set him as energy a time or two if I had to. But super combo, when your leader is a Phantom Demon, which it is, check the bottom here, Phantom Demon, you get to discard a card to draw 2 cards off this, plus your leader gains 10,000. And again, we get to do that at 5,000 or at 5 life as opposed to 4 life with most other super leaders. I really like it. It's a super solid leader. It makes for fast movement in your deck. Next, we see the starting combo for the Hirudegarn engine. We've got Hirudegarn the Wanderer. So auto, when this card attacks, place 3 cards from the top of your deck in the drop area. So that's good for setting up Overwhelm cards. It's also good for trying to get Tapion into the drop area. When Hirudegarn's on the field, you can pay another 3 energy, activate main here. You send this card and a Tapion in your drop area to the warp zone to grab an Impenetrable Defense Hirudegarn. Impenetrable Defense is pretty awesome, but this is really the card that you need to have on the field to keep it going. The real bummer part about this is unless you're playing this turn 3 and Awakening with your leader, this card doesn't have barrier. It's pretty susceptible to a few things in the meta right now. But it's essential that you have this guy. Thankfully, Minosha searches him out. Next, we play 4 Tapion. The main benefit to Tapion in this deck is to getting your Hirudegarn play going to get your 7-drop Hirudegarn. However, he does have a pretty cool secondary effect. When you play this card, choose up to 2 cards from your life and add them to your hand. So Self-Awakening, something this deck doesn't do a whole lot of early game. If you choose to add 1 or more card to your hand from your life, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 5 or less and place it on top of the owner's deck. So that's a pretty large amount of disruption there for a play. Unfortunately, it doesn't hit some of the newer stuff that include a lot of barrier, but it is going to be pretty disruptive if you can hit, maybe a cell or something that your opponent has thrown on board, or a large energy battle card that your opponent has invested a lot of resources into getting on the field, kind of looking at you there, Kefla. The next one, we've got our first Overwhelm card that we play in the set. In this deck, it's Time Choice Supreme Kai of Time, 15,000 attack, Overwhelm 3. When you play her, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose 1 battle card. Notice I said battle card. I've misplayed this card a few times. But you choose 1 battle card, add it to your hand. The other 2 cards go on the bottom of your deck in any order. This is pretty awesome. Early game, you're able to really get a lot of cards in your drop pretty quick with this deck. As long as you're not sending a Tapion from the drop to the warp, it's pretty safe to play this. It helps you dig a little bit for those combo pieces that you really need to get going. Plus, she doesn't have an energy cost attached to her when you overwhelm with her, which is pretty awesome. Plus, she's a free 15,000. You don't really have to worry about swinging with her. She's gone at the end of the turn, so you can be a little reckless with her and just kind of jab at your opponent early game. Next, we play Dimensional Banisher Fu. I opted with Dimensional Banisher Fu as opposed to Scientist Fu. Why did I do that? This deck already draws really fast. Scientist Fu's kind of already an overkill. This one, you've got an Overwhelm 5. It does cost 1 energy. He also has Double Strike, the same as Scientist Fu. But with this one, when you play it with Overwhelm, see if I can get it to focus there. Choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and send it to their warp. That's awesome. It's spot removal if they've got a pesky blocker on the field. As long as that card doesn't have barrier, goodbye. That card's gone for the game for them. This card has come in clutch a few times. Again, cards with barrier, just kind of say no to this card. But generally, I like the late game push with the double strike. It makes your opponent waste resources, especially if you can get a super combo on this. Usually they're having to spend a super combo plus another card just to get to where it is. So it's this card plus is big for you, especially if you're able to warp something on your opponent's field. Next, we're looking at the 7-drop Hirudegarn. This guy's got a lot of text here, but don't worry, it's not too complicated. You bring him out usually through the effect of Hirudegarn the Wanderer. He has barriers, so he's protected from skills. But his auto is what makes this deck super survivable. when your opponent attacks with one of their battle cards or one of their cards or leader cards, if our leader is a Phantom Demon, which earlier we confirmed that it was, you get to send this card and one card in your hand to the warp to negate the attack. So I've had games where I've had 2 on the field. They're going to have to attack at least 3 times before they're guaranteed that I'm not having to spend something out of my hand to negate the attack or survive the attack. So this card is pretty awesome. You can stop a triple strike with this. You can stop something with critical, the new drop 8 Goku that switches cards into defense mode. This ignores that card. It just doesn't care. This is just a super card. It's better than any blocker in the game. It just takes a little bit of work to get him out. That's the only thing. But once you have him out, you're really protected at that point. And also, at the beginning of your next main phase, after you send him to the warp, he comes back to your side of the field. To kind of cap the Hirudegarn, we're playing 2 of the 9 drops. I don't drop these all of the time. He has all the bells and whistles that the 7 drop does. This one, though, when he attacks, you choose one of your opponent's battle cards and 1 card from their hand and place them on top of their deck in any order. This is super disruptive. If you can get 2 of these on the field, your opponent is losing 4 cards a turn when they attack. Ask yourself, does your opponent keep up with that? Unless they're negating these attacks, they are losing 4 resources every turn when these guys attack. As long as the cards on the field don't have barrier, these guys are getting rid of cards. It's just a super hard thing to come back from. The only thing is they cost 4 energy to evolve from the 7 drop, or a 9 energy if you're going for it that way. I've never played a game where we've gone up to 9 energies, and 4 energies, you're either winning the game by that point or you're losing the game by that point. So I haven't really seen where these guys have turned the tide. It's just kind of a win more at that point. Earlier, I mentioned this card when talking about the energy boosted Majin Buu and time control Cronoa, the legendary Flute. It's a 0 drop extra card. When you play this card, if your leader is blue, you get to pick 1 card with energy cost 3 or less on the field and send it back to the owner's hand. So you can do this to disrupt a play that your opponent has, or if you send one of yours on your side of the field back to your hand, you get to draw a card. So it's a really nice exchange. When you turn 1, drop an energy boosted Majin Buu, then play a legendary Flute. So you're drawing off the Buu, then you're picking Buu up with legendary Flute, drawing 1 off the Flute, attacking with leader, drawing 2 on the leader's attack, comboing with the Trunks, playing energy boosted Majin Buu again to draw 1, and if you've got another Flute, you can do it again. It's a lot of pluses. Unfortunately, blue got this support. I don't think blue needed something like this. This would have been really nice to see someone like red, green, or yellow get something like legendary Flute. Hopefully we'll see it in the future. Maybe a different requirement to go off, but a free that gives them a draw with the field control. Legendary Flute is really good, seeing a lot of attention in the meta right now, and it works spectacularly in this deck. It just adds to the overall speed of the draw engine. Next, we've got our Negator, Whis' Coercion. This card needs no introduction. This has been the staple blue Negator since set 1. 1 energy to negate 1 card, then you retap an energy. I love having games where, we're kind of getting down to the wire and I have 3 Whis' Coercion on the field with a Trunks in my hand or a live energy. It's just so hard for your opponent to get through that at that point. To give yourself another turn. Again, there's not a lot of justification that are needed for this card. Just get rid of everything that your opponent is doing, make them waste resources. It's good. And last but not least, we play 4 Phantom Flame Cannon. This card has come in clutch for me. I was just playing a game last week where I had 3 of these in my hand and 3 available energies. My opponent attacked. I played all 3. Looked at their hand and sent 3 back to the top of their deck. And I got the grossest look out of it, but it was just super control. So basically, during battle, you activate battle, you pay 1 energy, your leader gains 15,000, then you get to look at your opponent's hand and send 1 card from their hand to the top of their deck. Now they're going to get it back when they draw. But if you're sending multiple cards back, or if you've already sent a few cards back with your leader effect, plus the Hirudegarn 9-drop on the field, or you've sent something to the warp with Fu. It's just super control. Your opponent really doesn't have a lot that they can do when you're just saying no to their resources and taking access from them. But that does wrap up my 50-card Hirudegarn deck. I really like this deck. Again, I don't think it can compete with some of the metas and some of the struggles that I've seen. It really struggles with the red baby deck. It really struggles with fast, aggressive decks. But if it's allowed to build its resources and it's allowed to build its play, this deck just goes and goes and goes for days at the end. You draw fast because of the leader. You draw fast because of the cards in your deck. You modulate your opponent's hand. You have the ability to control their field. You can control your life to some small degree. But this deck is just super awesome. I hope we get to see more that feature this guy and the Tapion and the Minotia. One thing that I kind of want to test out, I want to test out the Oath Power Trunks with the Tapion. The Oath Power Trunks is a 4-drop that gains critical and double strike, or I can't remember off the top of my head. Sorry, guys. Maybe I can have Bancroft put one over here so you can see it. But that's kind of what I want to test here. But if you have any comments or suggestions, questions about the deck, things you'd like to see us change, decks you'd like to see us test against, please drop us a comment below. If you like what you've seen, make sure to subscribe and like. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. And oh, by the way, they'd kill me if I forgot this. George Clinton, if you're watching, if you happen to be a Dragon Ball Super fan or a fan of Attack on Productions, we'd love to have you on the show. Later, guys.